Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be able to speak to you today, and I would like to thank the organizing members of this event for giving me this opportunity to be able to speak about the ideas and the approaches that we have used in developing renewable energy in Ladakh. And I've been working with the Ladakh Renewable Energy Development Agency for the past couple of years, and we've been implementing a flagship program for the government of India. It's approximately a $50 million project that sees to the holistic development of renewable energy throughout the Ladakh region. I would not want to take you into the technical details and the technical aspects of renewable energy or solar energy today, but I would want to tell you about my experiences and what approaches I feel are the best when you have to take renewable energy into remote locations such as Ladakh. There are other places in India which are remote. There are other places around globally which are remote. And I feel that it is some of the approaches that we have learned here that I can be able to express to you at this event. So first of all, before I get started with all the details of my talk, I would want to talk about the backdrop, or provide a backdrop or the context in which we work here in Ladakh. In the year 2000, 84 million households in India did not have access to electricity. That is over 44% of the households in India. And we go on and we see that in the year 2011, things haven't drastically changed. 77 million households still use kerosene for basic lighting, and another 1 million households, they're using wood for the same purpose. 1.2 million households, they are still in the dark in the year 2011. Likewise, the region of Ladakh has been a region of energy poverty. Till as recently as the year 2011, our total installed capacity in Ladakh was 23 megawatts, whereas our unrestricted demand for energy was about 79 megawatts. So you can see that basically out of this 23 megawatts, 15 megawatts was diesel-based generation. And imagine just truckloads of conventional petrol-based fuels being transported into Ladakh year after year to sustain the local economy of Ladakh. I have a couple of pictures that you can see firewood being transported up to Ladakh. You can see fuel, this is probably diesel and kerosene, LPG cylinders. So we're having to depend on the outside world for sustaining all of our economy here. And that in itself causes concern for a region that wants to be independent in terms of its energy security, in terms of self-sustenance. And what I would say is, over the last 2 years, with the 45 megawatt Alchi project coming up, things have drastically changed, but only along the Indus River belt. And till as far as the internal grid line, which is of a 66 kV grid line extends. And that is from Himya to Khalse. What about Nubra Valley? What about the Changthang area, which includes the blocks of Durbuk and Nyoma? What about the Trans-Singela area and the Markha Valley? A solution was needed for these. And with Ladakh being such a vastly spread out landscape, with villages in each and every pocket of those mountains, stringing across these transmission and distribution lines to each and every corner would not only be a tedious task, but would also have been a very expensive proposition. So the immediate solution, or the obvious solution, is distributed and decentralized generation. And how do we get that? Through either diesel generation, and again we'll have to be dependent outside, or renewable energy systems. So what we have done is we've planned out the project in a holistic manner where renewable energy systems that are powered through solar PV, that are powered through microhydel projects are being developed and are also already been implemented that are catering to villages across Ladakh. Now, to make it a successful thing about getting into the remote areas, about getting right down to that last village, maybe 5 days trek from the nearest motorable road, there are certain approaches and a certain set of skills that need to be able to get out there. There's a certain level of commitment and dedication that needs to be put into providing the basic rights of electricity into these villages. So I would want to just take you through a couple of things that over the past years working in Ladakh I have gained as my experience. And I'm just going to list it out. The first one is holistic planning. And holistic planning, what I mean by this is planning, we usually overlook planning and we make it a small part of project execution, whether it be in Leh or in the larger part in this nation. But planning, especially when you're working in remote areas, is a very critical aspect of the execution of projects. Failure in the planning stage leads to more problems in the execution stage. And there are two types that I would want to talk about today. One is the basic thing about coordination of departments and the coordination of departments in making a project successful. And the other thing is to detail every component, every project component of projects. So the first one I'm saying is departments usually don't work hand in hand together. For example, say if I put in a solar power plant, maybe the transmission and distribution is not planned for the next 4 years. So what happens is the batteries in the power plant basically lose their warranty period and they become redundant. So it is critical that we plan well with different departments. For example, when I was in school, there used to be a road that was dug up every year, and it was repaired every year too. But it was 1 year that the information department went through and put an optical fiber cable and repaired it. And the next year, some other department found out they forgot to put in a water pipeline. So they dug it up again, and then they put the water pipeline through, and then the next year something else happened. So what happens is we incur expenditure that is of no use. Repair works that go on, and that money, those funds could have been actually used for actually setting up something else for those remote villages. So that's number one. Number two, I'm saying in terms of micro level planning, we need to go get down into these villages and see and assess what exactly is needed at the village level. Many times we have a top-down approach to planning, but we need both a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach that will help us to deploy the best technology into those villages. So the second one I want to talk about is a step-up approach and the self-sustenance model. Basically, it's the idea that you can't lend if you don't have. So a lot of the times how projects are planned are this mega project is planned in an area, and everyone thinks that, okay, this is really going to bring a lot of benefits to the community. But usually they don't realize that that power is being evacuated to the urban areas or for industrial purpose somewhere else. And the infrastructure to step down the voltage from the grid level down to the village level for domestic consumption is never there. So there are many instances like this across the country. But what I would want to put an idea out there is to think of clusters of energy. So the thing is, if a village is able to sustain itself first, have its own microgrid, and then a couple of villages across a region have their own microgrids. The excess energy then can be put into an internal grid, and that can be fed into a larger national grid when it actually comes up. So developing it from a village, I think sustainability starts at a household level. The values of sustainability start at a household level, and as we grow this, it can become a more of a national or a global sort of approach to developing. The next point I'd like to bring up is designing for the local environment and adapting local ideas. Oftentimes when new technologies come in, we tend to replace it and not assess what old technologies would have brought to that place. I mean, the old technologies would probably have had a major impact, but we scrap that idea and we put in something new. And in this, I would want to say that, for example, what we have at LREDA have done, for example, the shelkhang or the glass room that is in a house, in a lot of homes in Ladakh, and has been something that has been used for years past. We've adopted that to be a part of our battery bank rooms where we store our batteries. Batteries, they are adversely affected to cold weather, and they need temperatures that are above zero, at least low maintenance lead acid batteries, because they're using distilled water. So passive solar heating, or the heating through direct gain, has been used to make these local ideas and local materials have been used so that the local know-how is captured in the projects. People are participating more in the projects. They know the acceptability of the new technology that is coming into the projects is much more. It is much more for that community. The second thing is designing in terms of transportation. When you're talking about remote areas, we do not think about horses and mules that need to carry these solar panels and these batteries to these villages. For example, we're putting in a 20 kilowatt power plant in one of the most remotest villages of Ladakh, and how you size your batteries is limited by what a horse can carry, or the size of your panels is limited to how many can be carried on one horse. So design has to also take into account the sort of areas that you're working in. This is a very important point, I think. This is something that makes or breaks the image of renewable energy in remote areas. It's encouragement of local skill building and participation. For example, operation and maintenance is key to making sure that there is no negative publicity for renewable energy. It is usually during the first month after the installation that you have hiccups with power plants, there's something that goes wrong. Now, if you don't have the local skill, and especially if in Ladakh, during the winters when all the roads are closed off, and you don't have the spare parts here, and you don't have the local manpower here who know how to go out and actually fix these problems, people are going to be like, take this away from here, we don't actually need this here. So building up of local manpower and encouraging locals to do the job is a very important aspect of making sure renewable energy makes an impact in people's lives. At LREDA, what we have done is that every company that comes to Ladakh to work or implement a project, they need to do two things. First of all, they need to set up a service center here in Ladakh. So we do not allow any company to work here if they don't have a service center here. Secondly, with every project or in their operation and maintenance contract, they need to train 2 individuals from every village. So we recommend that they train one older person and one younger person. The older person retains the knowledge for that village. Usually the younger person aspires for better things in life and can move away from that village. So at least knowledge is in the village when you train older people. So these are aspects of local skill building. And then the last thing, what we in Ladakh, what has happened is we have relied too much on capital subsidy. We depend on the government to provide us subsidies, but what that causes us is we do not value the systems, the things that are put in place for our benefits. The value of that is degraded when there's no ownership, when there is no responsibility associated with it. For example, a 90% subsidy or a 100% subsidy from the government of India or elsewhere, or just a project that comes through CSR. What that does is, the community thinks this really, we don't have any part to play in this. This was put in by someone else, so we don't need to take care of it. But responsibility comes when there is ownership in that. Financial sustainability also in terms of solar power plants. The battery banks have to be changed twice in the life of a solar power plant. And how do we get the funds, or how does a community get the funds to actually to replace these batteries? They are expensive things. And I have talked about these ideas elsewhere as well, but it is basically about, I was thinking if the mainstay economy of that region could be used to support off-grid renewable energy systems. For example, say tourism is the mainstay economy of Ladakh. We take an environmental fee for people who go out into different areas. What electricity is doing for tourism in those areas is it is boosting the tourism in that area, and a certain percentage of that to be used and be put back towards replacement of batteries or any system that needs repair to pay those operators would be ideas that would be able to make remote villages sustain themselves. It is expensive for just local villagers to pay for that electricity because of the high costs of project implementation in Ladakh, because you're dealing with high costs in transportation and all sorts of other adverse effects. In closing, I would just want to say that while we try to promote a better future for Ladakh, I hope that it is not to empower people to be more greedy, but rather to empower lives to then empower other lives. Thank you very much.